and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the last book tag I'm going to be doing for a little bit at least. I'm going to take a break and try different types of videos on Monday and Saturday and just experimenting because clearly doing writing videos on Wednesday don't really work, especially when I'm not writing as much. This tag is the book year book tag. It was created by CriminOlly. I will link his channel down in the description, and I was not tagged in it, but I saw it and I thought it looked like so much fun. Also, hi to anyone who's new. I know that Shelly Swearigan shouted me out in one of her most recent videos. I think like a week and a half ago she shouted me out, and since then I have gained like 10 more subscribers, 15 more subscribers, I think. So anyway, hello. If any of you are from Shelly's channel, thank you for coming. And I am sure I would disappoint you. So moving on. So the questions. Number 1, have you read any books published in the year you were born? If so, what's your favorite and why? Do you have any other favorites? If you haven't read any birth year books, which one do you pledge to read in the next 6 months and why have you chosen it? So yes, I have read a few books in my birth year. I was born in 1994, and I looked through like just the list of books that came out in 1994, and I do have apparently a few that I have read. I'm going to pick like 2 that I really enjoyed that are my favorites, and then the one that is like my absolute favorite that I've read that came out that year. So I did read Soul Music by Terry Pratchett that came out in 1994. I had no idea of that, but that is actually my favorite series within the Discworld because it features Death and Susan. Actually, I'm not for sure if Soul Music is what introduces Death, but it definitely introduces Susan, and I just love Susan so much. She is the granddaughter of Death in the Discworld, and I just love her so much. She comes back in The Hogfather, and then there's a couple more that she was in. The next one that I actually own is The Beekeeper's Apprentice by Laurie R. King. This is the first in a series about Sherlock Holmes and his apprentice, Mary Russell. Don't know why I couldn't remember her name, but they end up getting married and going on adventures together. The series definitely gets worse after like the 5th or so book, but in the beginning, like this series, I absolutely loved it. And I am pretty cynical when it comes to like rewriting famous characters into like new series, because I think it's honestly just being done to make money, because, you know, the association with Sherlock Holmes, people will more commonly pick up this book, but this one definitely does not disappoint. I loved this book so much, and it came out the year I was born. But the favorite one that I'm going to pick from the year I was born is The Alienist by Caleb Carr. They came out with a TV series that is very different from the book, even though they have kind of the same basis, but there's like no romance in the book, and in the movie there's quite a lot of romance. So I can't believe this came out in 1994 because I read it a couple years ago, and it is a very dark murder mystery set in New York City at the turn of the century, and it follows this alienist, which was the historical name for a psychologist. So it, in a sense, it's the original Criminal Minds in a sense, because this Dr. Laszlo Chrysler is an alienist, a psychologist that is trying to understand these murders from a psychology standpoint. And psychology was a very young system of thought at the time. So it's a fascinating book, and definitely my favorite book that I read from 1994. I don't know if you hear that, but my neighbor's like loudly playing music again above me. Anyway, so number 2 is, have you read any books published in the year you turned 18, which for me would be 2012. If so, what's your favorite and why? A couple of the ones that I read that were published in 2012 I really dislike. So we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, also Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which I did enjoy that series as it continued on, but the first book I wasn't a huge fan of. But there is one book that I absolutely love that I was surprised only came out in 2012 because for some reason I thought it was older, and that is A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. This book actually introduced me to Frederick Bachman, and he's such an amazing author that makes you think. Like, not all of his books do I love, but most of his books I at least like. So number 3, of the last 5 books you read, how many were published before you were born? And I was surprised not that much. I feel like I read more classics, but clearly in the last month or so I haven't read, because there's only 3 of the 10 books I read recently that are older than me. So I read Dorothy L. Sayers' Careless Rage for Life, which actually came out in 1992. So it's not a classic, it's just slightly older than me. Then there's Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. I read that, and that came out in 71. So it's a classic, but not a super old classic. Like, I don't consider 70s books that much of classics, but that's just me. And then the final book that I actually just finished like a day or 2 ago is Imperial Woman by Pearl S. Buck, and that came out in the 50s. So not really old books at all. And in fact, like, I'm surprised, because usually like my favorite era of literature to read is Victorian literature, but I haven't been reading it for a while. I don't know. I really need to get back into like very old classics because I love them. Number 4, what's your favorite movie from your birth year and why? So this was actually hard for me to find because I looked up because I wasn't sure what movies came out during that year. And a lot of the movies that are super popular that came out that year, I do not like. For example, Forrest Gump, really dislike that movie. The Lion King, fine, it's Disney, but it's one of my least favorite Disney movies, which is saying something because I love Disney movies. So it's not like it's that bad, but like out of Disney, it's not my favorite. And like there are a few movies that I've heard great things about, but I haven't seen yet. So like Interview with a Vampire, haven't seen it yet. Shawshank Redemption, heard amazing things about it, haven't seen it yet. So I decided to go with the one that I have actually seen that I do love and I grew up watching, which is The Little Women from 1994. It stars Winona Ryder, Kirsten Dunst. I would argue that is the best Little Women adaptation, even though it's definitely not perfect. It definitely cuts out things from the book. The book is maybe like 500 pages, and obviously you can't put that all into a movie that is like 2 hours. However, they did a pretty good job. The acting was all exceptional. So I do love that movie. I'm not going to talk about the new movie because I was not a big fan of the new Little Women movie. But yeah, that was one movie that came out on my birth year that I actually really liked. Number 5, what's your favorite movie from the year you turned 18 and why? So again, 2012. Well, The Avengers came out in 2012, which is kind of a big film. I won't say like I'm obsessed with Marvel movies, but I did recently finish watching all of them with my husband because he forced me to. He didn't. I willingly did it. But like I enjoy them. I just don't love them. So it's probably not my favorite movie, but you have The Hunger Games, which had mixed feelings about. You had Pitch Perfect, which I really loved when it came out, but I feel like it doesn't really stand the test of time. Like it's a fun movie. The one that comes to mind though is Les Mis. They made an adaptation in 2012 and it has a lot of imperfections. Like, I'm sorry. There are some of the actors that even if they had a great voice, when you were singing over and over again live, your voice gets bad. So the actors that really knew what they were doing, that did it in one take, sound amazing. Like Eddie Redmayne, amazing in that movie. Amanda Seyfried, she was amazing as Cosette. I can't remember the name of the girl who plays Eponine, which is sad because like Eponine is my favorite character, but this girl, I will put up her name, but they all did an amazing job. But then Anne Hathaway, I love Anne Hathaway, but they butchered her voice by just making her sing it over and over again with like these horrible, I would insert a clip, but I'm afraid to be copyrighted. Just look up I Dreamed a Dream from 2012, and she just sounds so hoarse and horrible. And like Russell Crowe was just as bad either. Like he gave it a good shot, but he does not know how to like sing that much. Yeah, so there were, I'm forgetting, Hugh Jackman played Jean Valjean. He was amazing too. So like there were a lot that were great in that movie. So I love that movie, but there were some things that I'm like, the choices, I disagree with that. All right, so that is the video as I've babbled on about my tastes. Have you read any of these books, seen any of these movies? Do you disagree with any of my thoughts? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Since I have kind of run out of tags that either I've been tagged in or that I'm interested in doing, I will be ceasing my book tags. I'll be doing them, randomly, but it won't be like every single Wednesday I'll be doing a book tag. It'll just be more like when I feel like it. So I will be just doing fun stuff. At this point, my YouTube channel is just completely for fun. So I post whatever I want, whenever I want. There's no rhyme and reason to my thoughts. I'm sorry. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe. I post every Saturday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!